Hey there guys and gals, and welcome back to the D4A channel. As you can see, today we have another exciting box that we are going to unbox. And this one comes all the way from the land of tea and crumpets from a cool little company called Motorsport Electronics. And as you can read, it says Nodiz Pro, which is the name of my brand new standalone ignition controller for my bike carb converted 4AG engine. So let's see what's inside the box. So quite a few things in a pretty small box. Now we're gonna go through them one by one, talk about each of these things, say why you need them, how they work, and why they're good for your engine. First up, of course, is the most interesting part, the heart of the whole thing, which is the second generation Nodiz Pro unit itself. As you can see, this thing, compared to my hand, is very, very compact, which means you can fit it pretty much anywhere. Inside your passenger compartment, maybe even in your trunk, under your dash. I don't care, it will fit there because it's pretty small. Also, as you can hear, the outer casing is made from metal, and Nodiz has extensively tested this, and they claim it can withstand water splashes, heat, mud, whatever else, which means you can even fit this thing inside the engine bay of your dune buggy or some other crazy 4x4 contraption you might have. Now, most people choose to fit this using either some double-sided tape on the back or maybe some Velcro, or even building a simple little bracket to hold this thing down. Regardless of which method you choose and where you decide to place the Nodiz, I think it will fit there. So now let's take a closer look at the Nodiz itself. As you can see, on this side we have some LEDs and some push buttons. Now the red LED indicates the power supply to the Nodiz, and it should light up and stay lit once you turn the key in your ignition, when you crank your engine, and while your engine is running. If the red LED is either has a weak light or is flashing or something else other than being constantly lit, it means something is wrong with the power supply. The other two LEDs are going to flash alternatively in normal running mode when different sides of your ignition coil are being fired. So the faster your engine is moving, the more RPM you're using, the faster these two guys are going to be flashing. We have the push buttons, and the push buttons are used to access different modes and settings of the Nodiz. So you use these two buttons to select whether your engine is using a 36 or a 60 tooth trigger wheel. You also use this for throttle position sensor calibration and for adjusting the offset of your crankshaft angle. So here's the wiring harness that came with my Nodiz Pro. Now I decided to get my Nodiz with the wiring harness, but you can choose to buy just the Nodiz without the wiring harness and make a wiring harness yourself. I decided to get this one because I do not have enough confidence in my wiring harness making abilities, and I think that it would take me a lot of time and effort and probably frustration to make one, and even if when I would make it, it would probably never look as nice and as professionally made as this one. So now let me lay down the wiring harness for you and show you which connections are needed, what goes where, how the whole system works, and don't worry, it's very, very straightforward. So here we have the Nodiz connected to our wiring harness. As you can see, that's just one socket. You plug it into the Nodiz and you're done. Next up, we have our tuning cable. Now this is what you are going to connect to your laptop so you can access the tuning software inside the Nodiz. You can get a nice extension cable just like this one so you can reach your laptop. If you do not like cables, the Nodiz supports a Bluetooth connection, so you can simply get a Bluetooth dongle like this one, plug it into your laptop, and enjoy, tuning the software without bothering with any cables. So next up we have the power and ground connection to the Nodiz. These of course connect, provide the power and ground to the unit. Moving down the wiring harness, we have the only other three connections which you are going to need to have a fully customizable 3D ignition map. First up is this oval connector, and the oval connector connects to your ignition coil. Now the Nodiz supports you know, a whole variety of different ignition coils, but the best and probably cheapest option is to get one like this. This is a Ford style ignition coil used by many different Fords, including Ford Mondeos, Ford Fiestas, Ford Escorts and whatnot. Now you can buy this on the Nodiz website, but you can also get it locally, which I think is easier and cheaper because this thing can be found at pretty much any auto parts store that stocks Ford parts. The connection is super simple. All you gotta do is plug it in and you are done with the ignition coil. Next up, we have the connection for our crankshaft position sensor. And for that, of course, you are going to need a crankshaft position sensor. Now, in case your car comes with a crankshaft position sensor and a trigger wheel which has 36 or 60 teeth, you can just use that stock setup. Now, the 4AG engine does not come with any of that as stock, so I got my crankshaft position sensor. Again, a Ford style crankshaft position sensor used by the same Fords that use this type of ignition coil. Another thing that you're going to need, which I got from Techno Toy Tuning, is a trigger wheel. This is a 36 teeth trigger wheel that fits perfectly on the Techno Toy Tuning crankshaft pulley. So once you plug in your sensor, make a nice little bracket for it, attach this to your crankshaft pulley, and as it spins, the magnet inside the crankshaft position sensor and the missing tooth are going to be a reference, which is going to tell, give the signal to the Nodiz, so it's always going to know exactly how many degrees from top dead center your engine is located. The last thing you need for a 3D customizable ignition map is these 3 wires. This is a 3-wire setup used by almost all OEM throttle position sensors, and inside the Nodiz user manual, there's a nice little instruction that's going to show you how to figure out which wire on your throttle position sensor connects to which of these 3 wires, and once you connect those, you pretty much have your entire setup ready to go. So as you can see, this is a very simple setup, and all you basically need are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 connections, some power and some ground, and you are ready to go. Compared, for example, to the Megajolt, which needs a Ford EDIS module, this is much more simple, which means you are going to have a less complicated, less bulky wiring. You're going to have a very neat engine bay because you do not need to connect the Ford EDIS module to all of this, and you do not need to put the Ford EDIS module inside your engine bay. What it also means is it's going to keep the costs down. The Ford EDIS module new costs a small fortune. Nobody buys it new. Used, it's maybe $50 to $100, depending on where you look. So, as I said, very straightforward, and this is all you need, to have the Nodiz running and enjoy a very nice, super throttle responsive, standalone ignition equipped engine. Now I'm going to tell you about some of the features and additional, options you can have with the Nodiz. So once you connect the wiring harness and the Nodiz and install everything, you can then proceed to play around with some of the really cool features that the Nodiz has. Now, I'm just going to mention them in this video, but if you want to read in depth, I advise that you go to the Nodiz website and then you can check out all the details about these features. Now, for me, one of the most interesting additional features that the Nodiz offers is a digital dashboard. Now, because the Nodiz has Bluetooth connectivity, Motorsport Electronics has made a free app that you can download from the Play Store, install on an Android tablet, get a bracket, put it on the tablet, and have a really cool digital dashboard in your car. Now, that's something I'm really looking forward, and I'll definitely be setting up. Another thing you can set up with the Nodiz is launch control. The Nodiz comes with user programmable launch control, which you can set up to hold the RPM for you at a desired RPM when you hold the throttle wide open, and then when you release the clutch, it's going to, make for a perfect launch every time. Another really cool thing you can set up with the Nodiz is a shift light. Now, because the Nodiz has a RPM-based output channel, you can connect it to some LEDs, set the RPM where you want them to light up, and you can have a functional shift light, which can of course be something really cool, if you're participating in races and you want to have that perfect shifting, or you just want to, show off to your friends your very cool shift light. Another thing the Nodiz has is a tachometer output. That means you can connect it to modern or aftermarket tachometers. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the unboxing. What's next planned for the videos featuring the Nodiz is that I'm going to be doing a detailed install video where I'm going to show you all the steps you need to take to have the Nodiz fully working in your car. I'm going to show you, everything regarding the trigger wheel and the crankshaft position sensor, how to configure and calibrate all the other sensors, and so on and so forth. What I'm also going to be doing after that is we are going to be tuning the ignition maps. I'll make a video about that as well, so definitely stay tuned for the whole process until we have our cool little bike carb converted 4AG running with the Nodiz and being a super awesome throttle responsive, super fun to drive engine. When it comes to the Nodiz itself, a few words to conclude the video. I have to say that it all looks really well made. The wiring harness is super, super nice. So too is the Nodiz. It's very sturdy, but also very compact. Definitely something, that I'm happy about because, let's be honest, the MR2 doesn't have too many places where you can fit something in. And yeah, I guess another thing that makes me happy is that this is a simple install. I was at first daunted by the whole standalone ignition, thing and terminology, but now when I look at it, honestly, I think anybody could install this in their car. So I guess that's pretty much it for today. As always, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you soon on the D4A channel.